The Earth had known peace for 3,000 years. Humanity, once torn by war, had united under a single banner, a banner that had been passed down through generations, growing stronger with each one. Nations had dissolved into a harmonious global federation, and the threats of the past were nothing more than distant memories. Technology flourished, environmental disasters were a thing of the past, and even the stars had become home to Earth's children. There was no longer war, poverty, or strife. The people of Earth had forged a golden age. It was a time of complacency. Humanity had become so accustomed to peace that they believed it was an inherent part of their existence, something that would never end. Old fears had long faded into myth and history. The idea of an external threat seemed almost laughable. After all, the humans had conquered the stars, developed technologies that could bend time and space, and found peaceful coexistence with alien civilizations spread across the galaxy. That's why when the message came, no one was prepared. It arrived suddenly, without warning or any indication that something was wrong. One moment, the Earth was going about its normal routine, cities bustling with life, children playing in parks, and businesses humming along. And the next, every screen on the planet flickered to life with an eerie broadcast. It wasn't a news report. It wasn't an announcement from any of the world's leaders. No, this message was different. A massive alien face, a Zilvath leader with angular features and glowing eyes, appeared on every monitor, every phone, and even the old analog radios. The creature's voice was deep, echoing with an unsettling authority as it spoke directly to the people of Earth. Humans, the voice boomed, you have enjoyed peace for far too long. Your time of dominance is over. The Zilvath have come to reclaim the galaxy and teach you the true meaning of strength. Your species will kneel, or we will make you. The message paused for a moment, leaving a tense silence in its wake. Then, the leader continued. We are the Zilvath. You may have heard of us, or perhaps you are too naive to know our name. Your civilization has been allowed to flourish only because we permitted it. Now we demand that you bow before us or face extinction. The choice is yours. The screen went black, and the transmission ended abruptly. For a long moment, no one spoke. The entire world sat frozen, stunned by the audacity of the message. People across the globe stood staring at their screens, trying to process the impossible. An alien race had just declared war on Earth. They had openly stated their intention to crush humanity underfoot. But as the seconds passed, the confusion gave way to something else. Laughter. The first chuckle came from a group of teenagers in a park who couldn't contain their amusement at the ridiculousness of the whole thing. Within moments, their laughter spread across social media. Memes erupted, mocking the Zilvath and their grandiose threats. The hashtag #ZilvathFail was born almost immediately, trending worldwide. Even the world leaders, after their initial shock, couldn't help but laugh. Was this some kind of joke? A prank? A viral marketing campaign? The thought that an advanced alien civilization would threaten Earth in such a dramatic fashion seemed so absurd that it was almost comical. The war room was filled with chuckles, even as military strategists and generals shuffled papers, trying to figure out what to do next. Was this a test? A misunderstanding? Or was it real? Whatever it was, humanity wasn't exactly quaking in fear. We'll be fine, said one general with a grin, staring at his monitor. It's probably some kind of cosmic joke. The world held its breath, waiting to see what the Zilvath would do next. But for now, humanity's response was clear. They were not afraid. They were laughing. The days following the Zilvath's declaration of war were a blur of confusion, amusement, and disbelief. Across the globe, people joked about the alien threat, making memes, writing satirical articles, and flooding social media with hilarious hashtags like #BringItOn and #ZilvathJokes. The humor was infectious, and for a while, it seemed like everyone on Earth shared a collective sense of disbelief. But the Zilvath, apparently unaware of the mockery they were inciting, weren't laughing. They were preparing for war. Without warning, the first wave of their fleet arrived. The world watched in stunned silence as dozens of massive alien warships, each the size of a continent, appeared on the edges of Earth's orbit. The ships were sleek, dark, and imposing, gigantic vessels bristling with weapons, their surfaces shimmering with an energy that could only be described as otherworldly. The Zilvath didn't even bother with a diplomatic approach. They simply hovered, an ominous presence on the edge of the atmosphere, making their intentions clear. There was no word, no announcement, just the ships, looming silently like dark giants. The laughter stopped. The humor that had once flooded social media was replaced by a rising sense of unease. Earth's government scrambled to respond. The United Nations convened an emergency session. Military leaders from every country, who had been laughing at the absurdity of it all, now had to quickly shift into action mode. It was no longer a joke. But even as the Zilvath made their presence known, they didn't fire a single shot. The silence lasted for hours. No one knew what to expect. Were the Zilvath waiting for humanity to bow? Were they just showing off their strength, playing a mind game with the planet? Then, without any warning, the Zilvath fired. The first blast came from one of the larger ships, a beam of pure energy, bright enough to turn the night sky into a blinding flash, slammed into the surface of Earth's moon. The impact shattered the lunar surface, sending debris spiraling into space, a chilling demonstration of their power. Panic surged through the world as the moon's violent rupture was broadcast on every screen. Earth's governments immediately went on high alert. Military forces mobilized. But still, many people couldn't believe it. It seemed impossible. How could something so absurd, so outrageous, actually be happening? It didn't take long for humanity's first response to be felt. From Earth's major spaceports, a series of human-made ships, once thought to be obsolete, launched into space. The ships were old, but well-maintained, designed for deep space exploration rather than warfare. However, they were the only ones ready for combat. A fleet of a dozen vessels, each a mix of different nationalities' designs, banded together under a new banner. It wasn't the largest fleet by any means, but it would have to do. As the Zilvath continued to bombard the moon, the human fleet made its move. Their ships moved quickly and precisely, weaving through the void in a series of unpredictable trajectories. The Zilvath may have been more advanced, but humanity was flexible, and its greatest strength had always been its adaptability. The first engagement was nothing short of a spectacle. The human ships, using guerrilla tactics, fired on the Zilvath fleet, launching a series of surprise attacks. They were small, but they were relentless. Every time the Zilvath tried to target one of the human vessels, the humans had already anticipated the move and dodged it, turning their maneuverability into a weapon. A massive battle raged in the skies above Earth, with alien beams flashing across the heavens. The Zilvath were technologically superior, but humanity was proving something far more dangerous: ingenuity. The first skirmish ended in a draw, with both sides retreating to regroup. But one thing was certain now: this wasn't going to be an easy victory for the Zilvath. And as humans celebrated their unexpected success, a strange confidence began to spread. Humanity had stood firm and had dealt a blow to the supposed invincible aliens. Despite their overconfidence, the Zilvath had just learned that underestimating humans was a mistake they'd soon regret. The Zilvath were rattled, something that had not happened in centuries. Their once unshakable pride was now under siege. Commander Vornath, their most respected leader, paced restlessly in the dark, high-tech control room aboard their flagship. The metallic hum of the ship's engines reverberated in the background as his officers scrambled to provide updates. "Commander, our first wave was a failure," said a subordinate nervously, a mixture of confusion and disbelief in his voice. "The humans, they're fighting back. They've evaded every direct assault, and our forces are being flanked." Vornath turned sharply, his glowing eyes narrowing in fury. He was used to enemies retreating or submitting in the face of overwhelming power, but these humans, they didn't know when to back down, and they were making mockery of the situation at every turn. "Why haven't we crushed them?" Vornath growled. "Our fleets are far superior in strength and firepower. What are these creatures made of?" They fight unpredictably, sir," another officer replied, clearly struggling to understand the situation. "We've never encountered a species that fights like this. They use tactics we've never studied. Their ships, our weapons are ineffective against them. They've developed evasive maneuvers that, well, it's as if they're laughing at us." Vornath's frustration mounted. Laughing? Do they think this is a game? Do they truly think they can stand against the Zilvath? But deep down, Vornath was beginning to doubt the answer. Meanwhile, on Earth, the human forces had rallied. Against all odds, Earth's military wasn't only holding their ground, they were thriving. With every failed attack by the Zilvath, humanity grew bolder. The first victory had been a small one, a single skirmish, but it had ignited something within humanity. They had tasted the thrill of survival and success against an overwhelming foe. It wasn't just about technology anymore. It was about willpower and ingenuity. Across Earth, civilians who had once lived their peaceful, sheltered lives were now stepping forward to contribute. People who had never held a weapon were suddenly drafting blueprints for new defense systems. Technicians from all walks of life were banding together, hacking into Zilvath transmissions, disabling enemy shields, and reprogramming weapon systems to turn the tide. Earth's social media became a battleground of its own, with viral videos not only mocking the Zilvath but sharing strategies, videos of success, and images of civilians laughing as they faced down their seemingly unstoppable foes. One such video, posted by a pilot after evading a plasma blast by mere inches, went viral. It showed the pilot zooming out from a high-speed chase through asteroid debris, turning to the camera and smirking. "Is that all you got, Zilvath?" the pilot quipped. "Come on, my grandma plays better dodgeball." The world cheered, but to the Zilvath, it was a slap in the face. They were the ones who were supposed to be feared, the ones who should instill terror in their enemies. And yet, the humans were turning their alien invasion into a joke. It was humiliating. And that wasn't all. Earth's scientists began to unearth old, long-forgotten technologies from past centuries. They reactivated hidden defense systems, satellite arrays designed for planetary defense that had been dormant for decades. The most impressive of these was an ancient shield generator, originally created to protect Earth from asteroids. But now it was being used to block the devastating alien plasma attacks. The Zilvath had come to Earth with the expectation of a swift, easy victory, but they were beginning to realize that the humans they faced weren't the same as the ones they had dismissed for millennia. The human spirit, their adaptability, their refusal to back down, and their strange sense of humor was proving to be their most powerful weapon. The war wasn't over, and the Zilvath still had vast technological superiority. But the once confident aliens were starting to question, had they underestimated humanity just a little too much? With every setback, the Zilvath were learning the hard way that humanity wasn't just going to give up without a fight. And that fight was far from over. The Zilvath were not used to failure. They were a species that had conquered countless worlds, their superior technology and ruthless efficiency making them virtually unstoppable. But now, with each passing day, their confidence began to crumble. Humanity, the species they had expected to crush effortlessly, was proving to be far more resourceful and far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The Zilvath fleet had sustained significant damage in the first few engagements, and the humans showed no signs of backing down. But what was truly baffling to the alien commanders wasn't just humanity's resilience, it was their audacity. The humans weren't just fighting back with strategy and innovation. They were laughing. They mocked the Zilvath at every turn, making jokes, taunting their enemies, and turning the war into some kind of twisted game. In every broadcast, whether it was from a human soldier on the front lines or a civilian talking about the war from their home, there was an unmistakable tone of humor. Even as the humans dodged plasma blasts and fought off invasions, they made sure to include jabs at their alien invaders. Memes flooded the internet, depicting the Zilvath as giant, clumsy fools who couldn't land a hit. One particularly viral image showed a Zilvath ship being outmaneuvered by a human vessel, with the caption, "When you bring a laser to a dodgeball game." On the ground, soldiers posted videos of themselves evading alien attacks while cracking jokes into their comms, making the Zilvath seem even more ridiculous. "Is that all you got, big guy?" One soldier shouted as a massive alien warship fired at her squad. "Your grandma can hit harder than that." At first, the Zilvath didn't understand. Were the humans mocking them to intimidate? Was it a psychological tactic? But as the days wore on, it became clear. Humanity was laughing because they didn't fear them. The Zilvath were simply another obstacle to overcome, no different than any other challenge Earth had faced in the past. Commander Vornath was livid. His troops were demoralized, and their once proud forces were now bogged down in an endless series of skirmishes with the humans. The Zilvath had expected to crush the humans in one swift blow, but now their fleets were being outmaneuvered by small, fast human ships, their commanders unable to keep up with the unpredictability of their foes. In a desperate attempt to regain control, Vornath issued a direct order to intensify the attacks. He believed that if they could destroy key human cities and infrastructure, they could break Earth's resolve. But once again, the Zilvath underestimated humanity. As alien bombardments rained down on Earth's cities, the humans didn't retreat or crumble. Instead, they adapted. New shields appeared, ones that deflected the Zilvath's advanced weaponry, seemingly out of nowhere. When the Zilvath sent down their ground forces, expecting to decimate human resistance, they were greeted with surprise guerrilla tactics, bizarre strategies, and an endless array of unexpected weapons, some derived from old human technologies thought long obsolete. And all the while, humanity continued to laugh. At one point, a human soldier, a middle-aged woman with a quick smile, broadcasted a message directly to the Zilvath leadership. "Hey, Zilvath, ever heard of Asterisk being humbled Asterisk? You might want to try it sometime. It's a lot more fun than trying to blow up my hometown." The Zilvath leaders, their pride wounded, watched in disbelief as the war turned into something far more humiliating than they had ever imagined. They had come to Earth expecting easy victory, but instead they were being outsmarted and laughed at by a species they had written off as weak. As the days wore on, the question wasn't whether humanity could survive. It was how much longer the Zilvath could endure this humiliation. The humans had taken the fight and turned it into a game of strategy, wit, and most of all, humor. The Zilvath may have been the superior species in terms of technology, but humanity had something they lacked: the ability to laugh in the face of danger. And that, it seemed, was the one thing that could truly defeat them. The days after the Zilvath's initial assault felt like a whirlwind. Earth's response had been swift, coordinated, and remarkably creative. What had started as a series of small victories quickly turned into a series of breakthroughs that began to shift the balance of power. Humanity was no longer just defending. They were attacking, fighting back with the one thing the Zilvath hadn't accounted for: unpredictability. The human forces continued to leverage guerrilla tactics, making use of terrain and old technology in ways the Zilvath had never seen before. The so-called Space Dodgers, a group of rogue pilots known for their impeccable evasive skills, had become legendary. They launched hit-and-run attacks on the alien warships, firing from unexpected angles and retreating before the Zilvath could retaliate. The Zilvath fleet, so used to overwhelming force, was caught off guard by the humans' resilience and creativity. One of the key turning points in the war came when Earth's scientists managed to hack into the Zilvath's communication network. With the help of AI and quantum computing, A team of cyber experts led by Dr. Maya Patel and her team had infiltrated the Zilvath's encrypted systems. Within days, they had cracked the code, disabling the Zilvath's automated defense systems and allowing the humans to take control of their own space stations. Now, humanity had a foothold in space, with an entire fleet of repurposed stations ready to fight back. But it wasn't just about technology anymore. The human spirit was shining through in ways that had taken the Zilvath by surprise. Ordinary civilians were not just supporting the military. They were joining the fight in unexpected ways. The factories that had once churned out consumer goods were now producing weapons and armor at an astonishing rate. Former athletes, engineers and artists were joining the front lines, contributing their skills in ways no one had anticipated. One former Olympic gymnast, turned combat specialist, Tara Nguyen, became known for her acrobatic tactics during close-quarters combat, taking down Zilvath soldiers with stunning agility and precision. Across the globe, the tide was turning. The Zilvath were no longer the unstoppable force they had once been. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, to innovate, and to fight back with sheer determination. And worst of all for the Zilvath, they had underestimated the power of human humor. The memes, the jokes, the taunts, they had spread across the galaxy, and other alien species were starting to question whether the Zilvath were as invincible as they had once believed. In the heart of the Zilvath war room, Vornath seethed. His forces had sustained heavy losses, and reports from every front showed that humanity was not only fighting back, they were winning. "What is this?" Vornath shouted, slamming his fist against the table. "Why are we losing to these asterisk beings asterisk?" "Commander, we're not losing," his strategist responded hesitantly. "But their strategies, they've become so unpredictable. They're forcing us into positions we're not equipped to handle, and the human morale is unlike anything we've ever faced. They're laughing at us, Commander. It's as if they don't even asterisk fear asterisk us anymore." Vornath gritted his teeth, his mind racing. He could not afford to lose to a species so young, so insignificant in the grand scale of the universe. Yet in the face of their relentless humor and innovation, the Zilvath were losing control. "What do we do?" his officer asked, his voice trembling. Vornath took a deep breath. He knew what had to be done, but it was risky, desperate. The Zilvath had a secret weapon, one that had never been used against a species as unpredictable as humanity. But if they were to win, they would have to put everything on the line. "We will need to bring out the vanguard," Vornath muttered, staring out at the vastness of space. "If we are to defeat them, we will need to strike at their very core." The vanguard, a weapon of unimaginable power, was the Zilvath's last hope. But Vornath knew that activating it would come with a terrible cost. It was a weapon capable of obliterating entire planets. But if it didn't work, it would likely destroy the Zilvath fleet as well. And so, as the humans celebrated their victories and mocked their alien invaders, the Zilvath were preparing to make one final desperate play. They would unleash the vanguard, for better or worse, and hope that it would be enough to destroy humanity once and for all. But deep down, even Vornath wasn't sure if it would succeed. The humans had already proven that they were more than just a simple challenge. They were a force of nature. And that, more than anything, terrified the Zilvath. The air on Earth seemed to crackle with anticipation. The Zilvath, having sustained heavy losses, had fallen into a strange, uneasy silence after their humiliating failures. But beneath this calm, humanity knew something was coming. The Zilvath were regrouping, preparing to strike back in a way no one had expected. The vanguard, a weapon of unimaginable power, was now their only hope, the Zilvath's last-ditch attempt to end the war. Commander Vornath stood at the heart of the Zilvath flagship, his gaze cold as he looked out into the vastness of space. The vanguard was ready. With its destructive power, it could annihilate entire planets, leaving humanity in ruin. But there was one terrifying twist. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a gamble. If the Zilva failed to wield it properly, the Vanguard would consume everything in its wake, including their fleet. "Initiate the Vanguard sequence," Vornath commanded, his voice unwavering despite the uncertainty gnawing at him. "We end this now." The vast, dark hull of the Zilva flagship hummed with energy. Deep within the heart of the ship, the Vanguard weapon activated, sending shockwaves throughout the fleet. Its power was incomprehensible, capable of folding space and time itself, drawing all matter in its path toward a singularity of destruction. As the Vanguard came online, the Earth's defenses immediately detected the energy spike. Earth's military satellites, which had been monitoring Zilvath activity, blared alarms. The reports flooded in. The humans were no strangers to advanced technology, but this was beyond anything they had ever encountered. "We've detected a massive energy surge coming from the Zilvath flagship," said General Marcus Blake, commander of Earth's defense forces. "It's unlike anything we've seen before. This could be their final weapon." The room fell silent. Even the bravest warriors, who had seen their fair share of battle, now felt the weight of the moment. Earth had fought back, yes, but what if the Vanguard was truly capable of what the Zilvath claimed? "We need to stop it before it reaches full power," General Blake said, his voice firm. "Prepare every ship, every defense system. We're not letting them get away with this." Back in space, the humans quickly mobilize. A new alliance had formed between nations, combining Earth's finest military forces with its civilian efforts. Every fighter jet, every spacecraft, and every satellite was now a part of the world's collective defense. As human forces organized, a team of elite pilots known as the Space Dodgers was called upon for the most dangerous mission yet. They would be the ones to confront the Zilvath flagship directly. Led by Captain Isabel Clarke, a no-nonsense strategist and veteran fighter, the Space Dodgers had already earned their place in history. Now they had to go head-to-head with the alien juggernaut that was the Vanguard. "We do this our way," Captain Clarke said as she addressed her squadron. "We know how to fight. We know how to win. But this is uncharted territory. Stay sharp, stay unpredictable, and don't give them a chance to hit us. We've beaten them before, and we'll do it again." Clarke's words energized the crew. Humanity's greatest weapon, it seemed, wasn't their advanced tech or their military prowess. It was their ability to think on their feet, to defy expectations, and face the unimaginable with determination and a sense of humor. They weren't about to let an alien race think they could dictate their fate. As the Space Dodgers prepared to launch, an unexpected transmission pinged through their comms. A familiar voice, filled with the usual cocky humor. "Hey, Zilvath, you sure you want to throw that thing at us?" said one of the Space Dodgers. "Because we got a few tricks of our own we haven't shown you yet." The entire squadron burst into laughter. For a brief moment, it was clear. They had not lost their spirit. The Zilvath had underestimated humanity's strength, their creativity, and their ability to laugh in the face of danger. With the Vanguard now in full swing, the battle for Earth's survival would come to a head. As the first wave of human ships engaged the Zilvath flagship, humanity's resolve was stronger than ever. They might not have the firepower of the Zilvath, but they had something far more powerful, a determination that could never be broken, and the belief that no matter the odds, they could find a way to win. The true test was about to begin. Would humanity's audacity be enough to face down the Zilvath's most fearsome weapon, or would this be the final chapter in their long history of peace? The battle for Earth had entered its most dangerous phase yet. The moment the Vanguard weapon fully activated, the very fabric of space seemed to tremble. The Zilvath flagship emitted a pulse of pure, raw energy that expanded outward like a shockwave, a blinding light that lit up the blackness of space. On the ground, humanity could feel the pressure mounting. The weapon was like nothing they had ever faced. If it was successful, it could wipe out entire cities, entire continents, and possibly the planet itself. But Captain Isabel Clarke, leader of the Space Dodgers, wasn't backing down. "Stay focused," she barked over the comms to her squadron as they accelerated toward the heart of the Zilvath fleet. "We've faced worse odds before. This is just one more challenge. We take this shot, and we make it count." Their mission was clear: to intercept the Vanguard's pulse before it could reach its full power. The Space Dodgers were humanity's best hope, but they were up against an enemy unlike anything they'd ever fought. Their ships, sleek and nimble, were designed for hit-and-run tactics, not full-on confrontation with a weapon of this scale. As they approached the Zilvath flagship, Clark could see the enemy vessels swirling in formation like a predatory swarm. The Vanguard was inside their command ship, but there was no way to hit it directly. They would need to create enough chaos to disorient the Zilvath long enough to make their move. "You know what to do," Clark said, grinning as her fingers tightened around the controls. The pilots behind her followed suit, positioning their ships in a tight formation. They weren't just going to attack. They were going to dance around the Zilvath's overwhelming firepower with the same unpredictability that had worked in every battle so far. The Zilvath expected straight lines, direct confrontations, but humanity was about to teach them a new lesson. As the first wave of human fighters sped past, dodging blasts that could disintegrate anything in their path, the Zilvath fleet began to react. Missiles and plasma shots flew, but the human ships moved with lightning-fast reflexes, weaving between the attacks in ways that left the Zilvath stunned. The Space Dodgers were like shadows, never staying in one place long enough to become a target. "Keep moving. Keep them guessing," Clark shouted. The Zilvath tried to adapt, but they couldn't keep up. The humans' maneuvering was flawless, but the real twist came when the Space Dodgers used their own technology to throw the Zilvath off balance. They activated a series of decoys, holographic projections that mimicked the human ships perfectly. Suddenly, the Zilvath were firing at illusions, leaving their real targets free to slip into position. "Now," Clark ordered. The Space Dodgers dove in, cutting through the Zilvath formation like a hot knife through butter. With precision, they struck at key points of the flagship's outer defenses. Each hit was designed to destabilize the Zilvath's ability to coordinate their attacks, making the Vanguard harder to control. Back on Earth, the human commanders watched the unfolding battle from their command centers. There was no certainty yet, but the sight of the Zilvath fleet faltering was enough to give humanity a sense of hope they hadn't felt in days. But then came the unexpected. The Zilvath flagship pulsed again, but this time, the energy was chaotic, unpredictable, just like humanity's tactics. The Vanguard, despite its immense power, seemed to be struggling, as if it could not lock onto its intended target. The Zilvath had underestimated one crucial thing. The more they tried to control the weapon, the more erratic it became. The Vanguard was a force of nature, but nature itself couldn't be tamed. In that moment, the human pilots realized something. The Vanguard's power was overwhelming, but it wasn't perfectly calibrated for the kind of space warfare they were now engaged in. It had been designed to obliterate planets with a single, predictable strike, but the Zilvath hadn't accounted for the chaos that came with fighting humans. "Everyone, hold your ground." Clark's voice rang through the comms. "We've got them on the ropes. The Vanguard's power is unstable. We just need to keep the pressure up and stop them from fixing it." The Zilvath flagship faltered under the relentless assault of the Space Dodgers. The Vanguard's pulse was growing more erratic by the second. It wasn't ready to fire again, and without the stability to control it, the Zilvath fleet was beginning to panic. In the chaos, the humans pushed forward, disrupting the weapon, and with one final, perfect shot, Captain Clark's ship pierced through the heart of the Zilvath flagship's control center. The Vanguard's pulse crackled one last time before it detonated in a massive burst of energy, sending a wave of destruction outward. But it wasn't a planet-destroying blast. Weapon had turned against its creators. The Zilvath flagship, crippled and in disarray, began to drift, losing control. The Space Dodgers, battered but victorious, pulled away just in time. The Zilvath had unleashed their deadliest weapon. But in their haste, they'd forgotten one thing. Humanity's greatest strength was its unpredictability. The battle wasn't over, but for the first time, the Zilvath were on the defensive. The aftermath of the Vanguard's destruction rippled through space like an electric shock, reverberating across the Zilvath fleet. The once proud flagship, now crippled and tumbling through the void, was a symbol of the Zilvath's hubris. The Vanguard had been their last hope, their ultimate weapon, but it had backfired spectacularly. Its power turned against its creators by the very chaos the humans had thrived on. For the first time, the Zilvath were forced to confront the impossible. Humanity wasn't just surviving. They were winning. Back on Earth, the celebration had begun. The news of the Vanguard's destruction spread like wildfire across every corner of the globe. People from all walks of life cheered, from soldiers on the front lines to civilians huddled in underground bunkers. The Space Dodgers, once seen as mere fighters, were now hailed as heroes, legends in the making. Captain Isabel Clarke, the fearless leader, became a symbol of humanity's unyielding spirit. "We've got them on the run," General Marcus Blake said, his voice filled with both relief and pride. "The Zilvath are broken. Their flagship is down. Their greatest weapon is gone. Now it's time to finish this." The Zilvath, on the other hand, were in disarray. Their fleet, once a formidable force that had seemed unstoppable, was now fractured and retreating. Commander Vornath, standing in the shattered remains of his war room, looked out into the vastness of space, his face a mask of rage and disbelief. He had ordered the Vanguard to be their final blow, their ultimate weapon, but instead, it had been their undoing. How could this happen? Vornath growled, his voice low and filled with venom. "We were so close to crushing them." His officers stood around him, their expressions equally stunned. They had never encountered an enemy like this. Humanity had not only stood their ground, but had found a way to turn the tide, even in the face of certain annihilation. One of his lieutenants hesitated before speaking. "Commander, it's over. The humans have outmaneuvered us at every turn. They've won." Vornath's fists clenched. The humiliation was unbearable. They had underestimated humanity in ways they could never have predicted. The jokes, the laughter, the memes, each small victory had chipped away at their morale, until now, with their final weapon failing, the Zilvath were left with nothing. But then, in the silence of space, came a message, a final broadcast from Earth. "To our dear Zilvath invaders," the voice of Captain Clarke rang out, crackling over the comms. "Thanks for the challenge, but it's time to go home. Don't let the door hit you on the way out." The transmission was short, a direct punch to the gut, but it was enough to send shockwaves through the Zilvath leadership. Clarke's words, casual yet brimming with confidence, were a perfect reminder of what had truly defeated them, the human spirit. Even in the darkest hour, humanity had never lost its sense of humor, its ability to face adversity with defiance and laughter. The Zilvath had underestimated everything about Earth. They had believed that their superior technology, their advanced weaponry, would make short work of humanity. But in the end, it wasn't their weapons or their ships that had failed them. It was their inability to understand what made humans truly dangerous. Their ingenuity, their adaptability, and their refusal to be intimidated. And so, with the final broadcast, humanity had won. The Zilvath retreated, their forces scattered and in disarray, unable to regroup. The war, which had seemed hopeless just weeks earlier, was now over. Earth had not only survived, it had triumphed. In the aftermath, humanity began to rebuild. The cities that had once been ravaged by the Zilvath were now being restored, their scars serving as reminders of the strength that had seen them through. The Space Dodgers, their victories celebrated in every corner of the world, were hailed as the heroes they were. The memes, the jokes, the endless taunting of the Zilvath, these had become symbols of resilience, of the power of humor in the face of the impossible. And so, humanity's 3,000 years of peace had been shattered. But in the end, it had led to something even greater. The Zilvath had come to conquer. And instead, they had been laughed off the stage. And as the humans looked toward the future, they knew one thing for certain. If the Zilvath or any other alien force ever decided to try again, they would find that humanity's laugh was the last sound they'd ever hear. For it wasn't the Zilvath's weapons or their fleets that had won the war. It was the one thing the Zilvath could never understand: humanity's refusal to give up, no matter the odds, and their ability to laugh in the face of even the most terrifying foes.